Why do conservatives always bring up drag queens when talking about liberals? I can assure you, triggered conservative commenters, no drag queen wants your child to be a drag queen unless they want to be. Y'all need to admit that your real problem is that you don't like people who are different than you. And move on. People are afraid their government is collapsing and see this as an agency towards that nowadays. It would have flowed better exactly 10 years ago, and not 1 year later or further. I feel like we were so close to acceptance that it kills me. And now we're tumbling backwards. Manufactured outrage. They think drag queen story hours are perverting children. It's one of the conservatives' most idiotic faux issues. They're obsessed with sex and sexuality because they don't get proper sex education, and Christianity is super weird about sex. No normal person cares what other adults go home and do together. It is called the straw man argument or straw man fallacy. When you have no arguments to bolster your case, you create a fake one to knock down. The Italians are coming. The Irish are coming. The Catholics are coming. The commies are coming. The Hispanics are coming. The blacks are coming. The gays are coming. The trans are coming. Quote. It's just the panic du jour. And it still gets votes. Conservatives consider men taking on any role or character considered feminine to be unnatural and perverted. It's rooted in misogyny. They cannot understand why a man would choose to be something that is considered weak and lesser. Deep down, these conservative men fear being treated the way they treat women, so any man who chooses to be a woman or associate himself with that role is a freak. This is why conservatives are always much more upset about trans women than they are about trans men. Drag queens hit all the same buttons, simply due to the fact that they choose to dress in women's clothing. The ones that bring that stuff up are the ones harboring homosexual feelings, is my guess. They aren't even cross-dressers as much as they are performers. It's similar to gay bashing in the 70s. It's the same crowd. It's just that in 2022 hating on trans people and drag queens is the new, acceptable, thing to hate. They are joyless and have no sense of humor. BTW. My drag name is Formica Dinette. I think conservatives like this see anything not strictly heterosexual as a sexual thing. To them, being gay and expressing that you're gay around kids is the same as performing a sexual act in front of children. Basically, they're stupid. Same reason they always complain about gayness being shoved down their throats, or having lesbian stuff shoved in their faces, are complaining about how with all this queer stuff they are expected to just bend over and take it. Starting to see the pattern? Drag queens represent a lot of values, ways of lives that conservatives are against, especially social conservatives. Given that drag queens are also men, I think they find them an easy target to pick on. All Americans have a constitutional right to free speech, which includes the right to dress up as audaciously fierce as they damn well please. Conservatives are just whiny little piss babies who hate free speech. Is this really a question or just a need for an echo chamber of a statement? I will say in good faith that it's a question. Drag queens per se do not bother conservatives or anyone to my knowledge. What does bother is bringing up sexualized stuff to children on the schools and stuff alike. And the vessel for that, it's usually a drag queen. This stuff, it's usually orchestrated by the most radicalized groups of the far left that happen to be in the same sack as the liberals, but it's just bad classification. lately using drag queens to promote sexuality, or some other pretense on schools or other venues. It's the new hot stuff, but what really does is to aggravate the problem because it's just a disguised political act to aggravate a group of people. Drag queens and sexuality in general have never been so in the middle of the debate, but because of the weaponization of them by a certain political sector targeting conservatives, they are now. It does not help that said drag queens take part in this, but since some of them have suffered discrimination, taking part on this agenda acts as a sort of revenge for some of them. Hate-monging is common on these situations. So in a nutshell, drag queens have existed for decades without trouble, but because some political sectors are using them as battering ram to attack another political sector, now they are on the middle of the public eye. Conservatives are the only creatures with true locking jaws. They clamp down on one thing they don't like and then shake their heads wildly to avoid being educated on why they're wrong. Drag queens are a flamboyant type of clown who all lip-sync to Lady Gaga and Madonna. They hate to be hateful. They need made up outrage. CRT. Drag queens reading books to kids. Because they can't run on their actual policies, vision and win. And it works well enough on idiot, moderates. Some drag queens are overly sexualized and not family-friendly. It's an issue of many on both sides taking an all-or-nothing approach. There are certainly bad examples of children being the focus audience for overly sexualized drag queens, which should be called out. But it is also very often family-friendly. Because they're not against anything really, it's all fear of change.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Veryrelentless is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.